George Vida, I'd noticed that everyone here referred to him by both names, never one or the other, kept his mountain to remind the youngsters hatched into an e-publishing generation of two things. One, that unreturnable manuscripts are unreturnable because someone didn't mind their P's and Q's in terms of submission guidelines, and two, that success in publishing is about leaving no page unturned and no envelope unopened. Slush Mountain stood as a reminder that publishing is a labor of love, emphasis on labor. It's no small struggle to climb to a level where you might discover the next great American bestseller and actually get credit for it when you do. Is it everything you imagined? Roger leaned in from the next chair, surreptitiously indicating Slush Mountain. Roger and I had been co-workers 10 years ago, starting out at a publishing house that practically had its own zip code. He was straight out of Princeton, streetwise and sharp even back then, a Long Island golden boy who had publishing in his blood, while I was a doe-eyed, dark-haired newbie who looked more like an extra from Coal Miner's Daughter than a New Yorker in the making. I nodded but focused on George Vida. I wasn't about to be lured into talking in pub board meeting on my very first day, or ogling Slush Mountain. I'd never been quite sure whether Roger was a friend or the competition. Maybe that was just me being jealous. I'd been pigeonholed in nonfiction and memoir for years, while Roger had managed to float from acquiring nonfiction to fiction and back again, seemingly at will. At 31, I was starving for something new, some variety. My cell phone chimed as a text came in, and I scrambled to silence it. Not soon enough. Every eye turned my way. The moment seemed to last much longer than it probably did, my heart suddenly in my throat and beating at 10 times the normal rate. My instinctive response to shrink, duck, back away before a hand could snake out and grab my arm, compress flesh into bone. Some habits die hard, even years after you've left the place and the people behind. I turned the sound off under the table. Sorry, I usually leave it in my office during meetings, but I haven't unpacked yet. The excuse felt woefully inadequate. Doubtless George Vida's cell phone had never busted a meeting. A sudden shuffling, rustling and muffled groaning circled the table, everyone seeming to prepare for something. A horrifying thought raced past. What if cell phones in a meeting are a firing offense? Silly, no doubt, but I left my previous job, my apartment rent was due in a week, and over the past few years I had sent my savings, what little there was of it, to a place where it would only prolong a bad situation. Box. George Vida pointed to the upturned lid of a printer paper carton. Andrew, the intern who had given me the tour, snapped to his feet, grabbed the container and sent it around the table. Blackberries, iPhones, and Droids were gently but reluctantly relinquished. No one complained, but body language speaks volumes. I was a class dunce. Perfect way to meet the rest of the co-workers. Brilliant. I'll never forget you now. On the upside, they'd probably get a laugh out of it, and it never hurt to make people laugh. Across the table, the intern swiveled his palms up when George Vida wasn't looking. He grinned ruefully, giving me what was probably a 22-year-old's idea of a flirtatious wink. I sneered back at him in a way that hopefully said, "Forget it, buddy. You're just a baby, and aside from that, I won't date anybody I work with. Ever. Again." The meeting got started then. The usual power play went on. Editors with pull getting support for the bigger deals, the better deals, the deals with real potential. Various editorial team members stepped up in support of one another's projects, their alliances showing. The sales and marketing gurus leaned forward for some pitches, reclined in their chairs during others. I took note of all the dynamics, mapping the lay of the land at the foot of Slush Mountain and, quite wisely, keeping my mouth shut. Stacked in front of me and in my office were company catalogs, manuscripts, and iPads.